today is, and she is over at the Spirit of Service for a few more minutes. And so we are gonna fill some time with some very exciting news for all of you. And we just happen to have Sarah Fitzromig and her husband Jeff here. And you may remember that they presented to Sunday Forum 2 months ago about the housing project that they were involved in, a couple of other churches collaboratively. And they were waiting for some grant information, which they have received.
Good morning, thank you. We are so excited to share with you that Governor Hochul announced, it was just maybe two and a half weeks ago, that we are the Finger Lakes region, and the DePaul project was awarded $12.8 million. Wow. So that's a project that we've been working on for 5 years, 5 long years.
How many meetings?
Over 200 meetings is going to be funded. And so for those of you who were not here when I initially presented, I'll just give you a thumbnail description of what's going on. So Rochester Interfaith Development Corporation is a 501c3 of 4 different churches, 3 Black congregations, and the Quakers. And we got together with the intention of working to develop essential housing for populations that could be chronically homeless, coming out of prisons. We were just thinking of any vulnerable population that needed services in the northeast quadrant, particularly because those are where the churches are located. So, and initially we thought we might transform the Spaghetti Warehouse into transitional housing, and that didn't work out. And then we started working very tightly with the city, identifying vacant lots. And there are lots of them. There were over 300 to pick from in the northeast quadrant where houses had been torn down. And so our goal was to try and locate these near the churches. So we have 2 residential buildings, one on Central Avenue and one on Portland. And they'll be together combined 70 residential units. And half of those will be funded through the Empire State Supportive Housing Initiative, which is wonderful because for those populations, which in our case are frail, elderly, and chronically homeless, there'll be dollars put towards each one of those units on an annual basis funded from New York State. And that provides everything that those individuals need, whether it's transportation to medical, social work support, just all the kinds of services. So those services will be provided. In the case of the frail elderly, those services will be provided by DePaul. And for the chronically homeless, they'll be supported by another great organization called Person-Centered Housing Options. I don't know if you know them, PCHO. So those populations could be at both locations. There could be frail elderly at each one of the building units. The one unit on Central is right next door to Peace Baptist Church, who we've been working with. And then the third new build is a substance abuse clinic, so needed in the city. And that'll be run by FLACRA, which is Finger Lakes Alcohol and Chemical Recovery something or other, FLACRA. So that substance abuse unit will be right next to Holy Trinity Church, which is one of our partner churches. So right there at the intersection of where Hudson and North diverge. Oh, yeah. And so what's exciting is, well, that's just terribly exciting. So the project, when I say $12.8 million, that's just part of the funding. The whole thing will probably be closer to $38 million. So it's a combination of private funding and state funding and all of that. So we're just beyond excited. So it's sort of a tribute to the power of patience, perseverance, having not giving up. And what I'd like to mention is that the folks from the church, our board's about a dozen people. And the people who started and created the 501c all of those people are still part of, that group, that dozen people has been meeting week after week after week, Mondays at 5:30. I know where I am. I'm down at Peace Central at a meeting. And so these people have become good friends. We just love each other. Every meeting starts with prayer, ends in prayer. And, we're just so glad that we finally said, if we're going to actually do something to make a difference, we need to reach out and join hands with the Black congregations. And the pastors that we're working with, they grew up in that neighborhood. They've seen transformation from residential into, sort of light industrial houses. The whole neighborhood changed. If you know that area just north of the post office, I mean, that used to all be single family homes, and now it's there's kind of warehouses around, scattered around. House of Mercy, it's not much of a neighborhood at all. So this is the beginning of a transformation, and we like to think of how impactful this will be when the inner loop is filled in. I don't know if you know that, the details of that, but that's very exciting. I think much as they did when they filled in the first portion, we have the potential of, another 23 acres. I may have that number wrong, but it's a lot of acreage that's going to be available. And we see this first residential building right on the corner of Central and North being sort of like the gateway to a revitalized Northeast quadrant, which has been sadly ignored. And the primary goal for the fill-in of the north section of the inner loop is to reconnect the web of roads that was, completely obliterated with the construction of the inner loop. So that's my good news, and I'm thrilled to be able to share that with you. Thank you.
Anybody have questions for Sarah about that?
Congratulations. It's really, it shows 5 years is a long time.
It is a lot.
But it looks like now to stay out. I have, oh yeah, along with these other buildings that are being funded, are individual houses being stored or built to create this new housing community?
Yes, so let's call that project 1, right? So we are starting to think about project 2 and 3 and 4, and there's great news about that too, but it's all in the very seedling stages. But the vision is, in addition to our 4 churches, we've partnered with another 2, and between the 6 churches, we are, one of the goals is 150 single-family homes in 3 different zip codes. 50 in the Joseph Avenue area, 50 in the northeast near more east and central up there, and then 50 down by off of Genesee near Bull's Head. So and now we've got a financier who says, we've met with him and he's like, whatever you want to do, I'm ready. And so that's one project. And I guess I could tell you that we're actually having discussions with Downtown Pres to restore it's some kind of community housing on the 3rd floor of this building. So I don't know which population that will be. We've started the conversation. We met with the new pastor on Friday, and a couple of our pastors met with Eileen for over an hour and toured the 3rd floor. So we've looked at the 3rd and 4th floor and are talking with the city about, they just had a meeting on the 4th, on Thursday, to determine which nonprofits they would be granting money to, identifying their top list of recipients for support. And so we want to tie in with that. If the city thinks it's important, then we should have the conversation. Let's get that population, here. And Reverend Davis was very, very grounding with his comments and feedback, just saying, stick with something that you're already doing well. And if it's frail elderly, it's chronically homeless. Go with that, because we already have those relationships with the service providers who are working in that area. So, yes, I don't know, does anybody familiar with the Hinge neighbor, or the Hinge neighbors? Okay, so that's another group similar, a community group that is really advocating for single family homes in the area that is opened up by the interloop fill-in. And so they've been working very closely with the neighborhood and the community people. This is what it was, this is what we want. We don't want big box housing units shading out the houses that are there, just sort of squashing the environment with a mishmash of, they want single family homes, and they are extremely active and effective group for speaking for the community. I don't know, Sean Dunwoody and Suzanne Mayer, do you know those names? Okay, so that's good.
Isn't Sean the graffiti artist or the
Yes,
mural
murals.
artist?
Yeah, he did the mural at our building on Sile Street. He's more than an artist, he's quite an activist in the community.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, the forum committee decided that it made sense, since so many of us don't know fully who's using the building, to have a month where we all learn more about that. So this is the start of that month. Lauren is supposed to be coming from Spiritus to talk today. Next week, there's gonna be a tour that's gonna be done also by Zoom. Is that right?
Meet here, some people can stay here. Since I've sort of been in charge of helping out here, everything is a little more chaotic. I think that Eileen is going to be there, and there was some concern that some people who may not be able to go up and down stairs, they might be able to have them watch Nancy's iPhone from as we go through the.
So stay here in the
Yeah.
showroom.
And also the people on Zoom could then watch it also. I think that'll work. And, but it's the details still to be worked out. But yes, it is a
So
first
come-
introduction for many people about this incredibly large building that has been here for a century, or since what, 1910, and was originally, is actually national on the National Historical Register because of its role in the city as a place that was a place for people coming to work in Rochester. It's part of its legacy there and its roots, and how this is going to be changed. Boy, that's what we've been talking about for the last several months here. So.
And then the third week, 3 of our other ministries are gonna come. Do you want to say anything about that, Elaine?
Well, they all share.
Okay, this is my understanding. They all share the one space on the 3rd floor. It's the office space, and UCLM used to be in there with Reverend, Stewart. Thank you. Reverend Stewart, who has passed on. But there are others that have continued that ministry. And then GRCC and UCLM and RockX, they all have, they share that space. And so we're going to have 2 speakers.
And someone from Life.
Oh, thank you, yes. And the minister at Life, LIFFE. And they're the ones that meet in the chapel on Sunday morning. So yes, thank you very much.
I took this list that Sally had presented for the newsletter, that listed many of our tenants and ministries that are associated with the building. There were 18. I couldn't believe it. And I went and saw lots of websites. And it was so interesting to see our church pop up as a picture on so many of those that I was looking at websites for. So I just wanted to say, I did look up the Life Church because I've always wondered what it stood for. Love International Faith Fellowship Experience. So we have 5 religious organizations that meet in this church. And so wonderful that Pat just came in because she's part of the one I knew nothing about. So we have Spiritus, we have the Presbyterians, we have the Quakers, we have the Life, the United Christian Leadership Ministries, and we have the Women's Circle, which does drumming.
Right.
And they meet here in the winter, and I guess during the rest of the year, they meet in a yurt. In a field somewhere, is that right?
In somebody's backyard.
You want to say a little bit about it?
Well, I wasn't expecting to, but,
Well, you don't
So-
have to say anything because our speaker did just arrive. But do you want to say a few words?
In 1986, a college professor at Nazareth, who is a psychology professor, decided she wanted to expand her horizons. And so she went on some vision quests and she brought back these principles. And she started gathering people, men and women, to explore new avenues in spirituality. And as time went by, there was greater and greater interest. So her very tolerant husband bought a yurt to put in their backyard. They live out in Fishers, so it's a farm, actually. And so he had room in his backyard. So we meet there and we have gatherings on the solstices and the equinoxes. And then we have Women's Circle, which meets twice a month, Tuesday nights. And we have, we have these programs where we explore new avenues in spirituality. And so during the winter, it's harder to heat the yurt. It's got a wood stove. So we decided this year that we would seek alternative quarters. And our library was very adequate for the purpose. And we were very gratified, and we expect to renew our rental agreement with Deep Sea next winter. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Lauren Urzetta has arrived. So I'm just going to say a little bit about you, Lauren. It's straight from the Spiritus website, so I hope it's all accurate. It sounds like she does a lot at Spiritus. She's not only the hospitality minister, but also the youth minister, and is involved in the young adult ministry, is involved as staff to at least 3 of their other ministry projects. She works on their social media, I'm sure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She joined Spiritus over 15 years ago, and I assume that might have been as a volunteer at that point. And she got very committed to Spiritus, has a bachelor's degree in English Ed and was a teacher, is that right, for 12 years. And then went back to Colgate Rochester Divinity School. And she says, being able to join my faith and work together has always been a dream of mine. And I feel so blessed to be able to do the work that God has allowed me to do. So she's going to tell us more about Spiritus Ministries. I think what we might call missions, but Spiritus calls them ministries. So come on over. And your PowerPoint's going to get projected.
Okay, awesome.
And you can advance it here. Okay, if anything doesn't work, we'll try.
Yes, and happy Eclipse. I brought 2 friends with me from Richmond, my college friends. So yeah, they're here with me. Richmond, Virginia. Yeah, so they're here with me as well. And sorry for being a little bit late. Father Jim's homily was still rolling, so we, but. So yeah, for those of you, you know, I feel like we're brothers and sisters in Christ here together. We have a lot of ministries that, started 25 years ago when we split from Corpus Christi. A lot of them sort of were born at Corpus Christi and then were carried on to Spiritus. And so I'll get right into it. If you want to click, oh, I'm the clicker. Am I the clicker?
I think you're able to click. If not, we can put on here.
Let's see.
Worked earlier.
That one, is that the machine?
Actually, it should pick it up anyway.
Okay, there we go. So our Grace of God Recovery House, which is right around the corner at 120 Franklin Street, is a house for men in recovery. This was started by Sister Margie during Corpus Days and then reborn 25 years ago. Mark Bennett, who is an alumni, the gentleman with the beard, is our current director. And they join our prison ministry too with, they have the secondary housing. And please pause me or ask questions, interrupt if you'd like more details. Our mental health center, which is in this building, it's on the 3rd floor of this building, was created by one of our staff members. It is mental health services for those who don't have insurance or who are underinsured and need to access mental health care. We have about 12 different professional doctors who volunteer and come in and see patients. And then we have 2 clinicians on staff, and then an administrator for the mental health center. We also have small groups for specific needs, like we have a PTSD sort of treatment. We have those who, women who once had sexual trauma before the age of 18. So a lot of like specialty groups as well. You don't have to be a parishioner to get these services. This is a really beautiful thing. As we know, mental health is something that mental health care is something that everyone needs. Our prison outreach, you may have seen them in the news recently for the $2 million grant they just received. On the left is a picture of our Jennifer House, which is the house for women who were formerly incarcerated. And then we have the Nielsen House. They took over a seminary building, so it's like a mansion. So actually they can have up to 20 men in their house. And then they also, the prison ministry, they have over 175 apartment units for people for the secondary housing. And within those apartment complexes, there are case managers. So they still can have that case management and support that they need while they enter into that second part. Sorry, I'm moving. As they enter into that second part, so it's not just thrown right back into the streets. Anyone who has ever been part of this ministry, Jennifer or Nielsen House, they're always welcome back into the house if they need to come back for 30 days, if they relapse or something happens. This is a beautiful ministry. I would say is one of our strongest ministries. Yes.
You just said relapse, so is this like dual diagnosis, like kind of in the sense that they were in prison and now they also have substance abuse?
Yeah, typically,
You repeat the
Yep.
question, okay. You said relapse, so I was asking if, in addition to having been in prison, they actually also had like an addiction diagnosis?
great question. A lot of times we see crossover with that. So substance abuse, maybe occurring while in prison or, you know, might be the reason why they went into prison. And we do see a lot of blending with our Grace of God ministry. They work together quite often. So, you know, while they're at the great Jennifer House or Nielsen House, going to programs and meetings is a big central part of what they do. SPARC, or Spiritus Anti-Racism Coalition, which I believe we have worked together here. This was right outside our building. Reverend Myra started this. So this group, we have the White Caucus group as well as the Black Caucus, and they work together to fight racism, bring issues to our parish, educate our parish, shed light on events that are happening. most recently, the gentleman who died in the ambulance, who was left unattended for 2 minutes and not letting things like that go by. The reparations bill that Kathy Hochul signed, and getting public speakers here into Spiritus. Reverend Myra is a forefront of that, especially in our area. She's working with the city to bring the GBI program, the Guaranteed Based Income Program, or has brought it here to Rochester, which so over about 200 participants who live within the city and met a certain income bracket now get $500 additional to their income. So this is a pilot program that has been in several other big cities. Reverend Myra worked with the city to bring that to lift people out of poverty. And she's also working with the city on creating a civil rights heritage park to lift up the names of Rochester civil rights people. And that would be in Baden Park, and they're working with a local artist to construct that as we speak and raising funds for that. Any questions about Spark? They do a lot of work. Our Chiapas ministry, so beautiful. So we work with families in Chiapas, Mexico to fundraise scholarships for their children to be able to attend school. This past year, I believe we sent over about 42 scholarships. This picture you see here is when we go to on our pilgrimage to Chiapas each year, and we are with the families. Our pilgrimage is not when we do service work or anything. We are just living with and being with the families, our brothers and sisters. They really love us. We live in their houses. We work with them on the jobs that they are doing and find out how we can support them. They live in a remote area that priests often don't get to. So last time Reverend Myra was there, she was able to bring some sacraments. Some babies hadn't been baptized. So we're finding that they need more access to sacraments. There's just constant communication. We now, on our live stream, have a Spanish live stream so that they can watch our mass as well. And we sell Chiapas coffee for their coffee each month, once a month, and send the proceeds back to them. Hope Haiti, as you know, things are extremely crazy in Haiti right now, but we are still working very strong with our Haiti ministry. We have a hospital there. It started out, as a health clinic, and eventually built up into a hospital. We work with a gentleman named Dr. Tony, who is Haitian. All of the professionals in the hospital are also Haitian. Throughout the years, we've also worked with this organization, Hope, to help with building wells and different energy systems for them to be sustainable. In the recent years, the corruption and violence drove out, Dr. Tony was driven out, but I'm happy to report that he is back in the hospital, sort of functioning at like a remote level. But we're sending prayers to this ministry because it's been really tough for them. Our Buddy Readers program is a program where volunteers from our church go into 3 different inner city schools to be buddy readers to students. If you know anything about education, there's one teacher and several students, and many of them need that one-to-one interaction, especially for reading. They're not tutoring, they're just simply being there as like friends and buddies to have them read, the student read to them, or the buddy read to the student. They can do fun games. This was started by one of our parishioners who was a professor at U of R and is being continued in connection with U of R. So our buddy readers get great training. During COVID, they started buddy readers at bedtime, which we found was incredible because a lot of the students were home alone at night. And that was a great connection for them to have, to hop on Zoom with someone, their buddy. So this has been like a really thriving ministry. I think we had about 50 volunteers this year. Our Caring Connection is an in-reach. So this is how we care for each other. So if someone is down and out, we recently had someone who got in a horrible car accident, needed help getting to his doctor's appointments. We put out a sort of like all alert who can help him get to these appointments in this group, and someone will step up and bring him. Someone needs help moving or help with meals when they're sick, or you'll see here, we're in your space doing a big pancake breakfast to bring parishioners together. We send out sympathy cards to people. It's our way of taking care of each other. So this is what we would refer to as an in-reach, where a lot of the other things I was talking about are what we refer to as outreaches. Our Mother Earth group is really committed to environmental justice and holding us accountable as a parish. Each month, we have what's called a green spot announcement, announced at all the masses, as well as in our newsletter to keep us informed and updated. Last month's there's always changes about what can actually be recycled and what cannot. And it's insane what I was recycling all wrong, because then it all just goes to the landfill if you do it incorrectly. The stoves, how we can gas and electric are the grants that are out there for different heating incentives. And so they're constantly holding us accountable in terms of using the glass, your glasses into silverware here, and not using just toss away paper products. And sometimes we're like, oh, Mother Earth is going to get mad at us, but they really do hold us accountable. And they do a great job advocating for our Mother Earth. Speaking from the Heart is our refugee ministry. It was started 10 years ago to help refugees practice their English in a safe environment. They met yesterday, so they meet once a month. They come together and they sit in a circle. It's refugees from all over Afghanistan, Africa. We had a great influx of Afghan refugees a couple years ago. And a lot of times the mothers, can't go to the English classes that are offered and are stuck at home and need these opportunities. So a lot of my teens, the youth group, they'll come and provide the childcare down in the gym, and then the mothers and the fathers, and they all practice English within a non-scary environment with our volunteers. We bring a ton of food, we have coffee, and then we also talk about systems, right? Like if you know English, well, figuring out your food stamps is hard, even if you know English. But if you don't know English, it's impossible. So helping people figure out systems, reading their mail, advocating for their medical appointments, it's incredibly scary. So it's morphed into more than just English, really navigating the systems that they so desperately need. Our Adopt a Family program happens during the holiday season. So we provide gift cards to families for Thanksgiving. And anyone can sign up. You don't have to be a parishioner. We don't make you fill out like an income bracket card. It's just come as you are. If you say you have a need, we want to serve that. And then also we provide gift baskets for children, for families with small children. And we try to do as many as we can. And that all comes from our parishioners. And this past year, we've tried to expand even more. We had the city come in with a big Toys for Tots bin. So we brought in Moses Robinson, the community officer, has been incredibly helpful with this program as well. I believe that is my last one. So we just have a few ministries. Oh, and the last one, sorry. As you know, we've had a strong connection with the asylum seekers that have been staying at the Holiday Inn downtown. So we've seen that need, and we created a clothing room over on the other side of the church here. We named it Lydia's Closet. So we now have a clothing place for people to come who need clothing, and we have toiletries there and anything people might need so that anyone can come. So if you ever have a need and you want to send someone over, anyone can come. We don't ask questions. We have shoes, we have blankets, we have everything. So Lydia's Closet, we have a clothing closet now too. That's the most recent addition. Yes.
Put in a plug for the downtown church, I think Eileen has told me that we've also set up bike racks here.
Yes, you did.
Because a lot of those people are getting around to work and looking for work by bike, and the Holiday Inn, is that where they're staying?
Yep.
I forget. Do not really want a lot of bikes hanging around in there visually. So we have provided that. I don't know how well used it is, but
I know, yeah, so Eileen and I worked together on that, and that was a beautiful thing that we did together. Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, a lot of them are still being stored in, my former youth group room right now, their bikes, because, people were cutting through the locks, but we have beautiful bike racks in your front, yeah. So, we'll still figure that out, though. We're gonna get unbreakable locks, so,
that was just a happy.
yeah, it was beautiful.
So an idea for you, midnight basketball.
Ooh, midnight basketball for the teens?
Yeah, because, they used to do that at the rec centers and it's been,
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, to keep teens off the street. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I've heard of that. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes.
I'm wondering if your mental health ministry by any chance includes groups, grieving groups for either adults and or children, or adults and children together.
Yeah. So it's funny that you asked that. That's been a recent conversation that is something that we really are missing, even as just a parish for a small Christian community, to have that, a group that focuses on that. I know that they meet with people on an individual basis, especially young adults and children, providing them services, but I will bring that back once again, because that is so vitally needed, unfortunately.
There's a ministry of some sort on Millbank Street. Is that one of Spiritus's?
Yes, that is the prison ministry. That is, yes, that is, Nielsen House. Yes. Yeah, so that big mansion is the Nielsen House. It's beautiful. I know. It's gorgeous. And they have, the men have created beautiful gardens back there as well. And they feed the cats that are back there. They have like a whole cat ministry. They built cat houses. The men are so incredible. And one of the men who was in prison for quite some time, he was more upstate, and he learned from one of the officers how to really be in this incredible gardener. So he created all these gardens in the back on Millbank Street.
So this new grant, so I think the prison outreach gets an annual federal grant, is that correct? But the 2 mil is from like Jeff Bezos's.
Ex-wife, yeah, Mackenzie. I've heard Mackenzie, yeah. So that it's a one-time grant, but yes, all our ministries, our outreaches, our main ones are mental health, Grace of God, and prison outreach. They have their own grant writers. Our prison outreach is like its own animal, and they have like a staff of 12 people, and they have 2 full-time grant writers. So that, just to give you an idea of how, we just had their gala, and the woman who wrote the grant for the $2 million grant, she wrote a speech like thanking everyone, and the speech was better than anything I've ever heard in my life, to just give you an idea of like how talented these women are. So that the prison outreach is like its own animal itself. It really is incredible.
I'm just curious as to what your membership is.
So our membership, I would say between in person and online is about 1,500. So I would say like for Easter, we had about like 400 in person, our Sunday mass, our most popular mass, and then at least 400 online as well, at least. So, but I would, in terms of people who are getting bulletins and sending in donations, is at least about 1,500.
And the spaces where you are. So you're here, you're at Hochstein.
Yes.
You're at the Baptist church as well on a Tuesday night?
Yeah, that's Tuesday. We do our ecumenical mass with Emmanuel Baptist. Yeah. So that's just our Tuesday noon mass. Yeah.
Are there others?
No, but I would consider this our main base. The only time we're not here is really 9:30 mass at Hochstein, which is our biggest mass. So.
Oh, I can think of another ministry It is, oh, good, that sounds good. That an organization I work with has benefited from personally, and that's Building Minds in South Sudan, because we have received grants from Spiritus, pretty much every year since we've been in existence. It's
Yes.
been wonderful, and the grants are put forward by members of your congregation asking for monies to support organizations that they care about. But Building Minds in South Sudan is very grateful
Yeah.
for the many years that you have supported us.
We love that work, and, Selva, I'm trying to think, I was just thinking of,
Sebastian.
oh, so, okay, yes, and, yes, two different, and, that's our tithing ministry, which is starting right now, and I believe that organization probably just stays on our tithing. And we're coming up now where new organizations can be, nominated, our new tithing sort of nomination year is starting right now.
Could you explain more about what a tithing organization is?
Yeah, so it has to be a grassroots organization, and it goes to our tithing committee to see if they would qualify for receiving, I believe it's like two $700 checks. 10% of our 10% of our collection goes to our tithing each week. So grassroots organizations, some of them stay on year to year. But then new organizations get put on.
Can you talk about how your online presence, like,
Yeah.
goes through the roof like that?
Yeah, so it really was just a blessing that we had, the person who was before me, you might remember him, Davis Craig and Aaron Lynch were very technologically savvy. And before 2020 happened, before COVID happened, they were really pushing for live streaming. So we started before that. We started live streaming before it. And then so when COVID hit and a lot of churches shut down, we just kept doing what we were doing. So a lot of people switched over to us. But also then during the Black Lives Matter protests and Reverend Myra was out in the streets and became so nationally known, that also brought a lot of people. That picture of her face to face with the cops went everywhere. She was on CNN and things like that. So I think the combination of those two things really put us on the map. And then people found out about our ministries in this Catholic church that's all inclusive. How weird. And so how strange. And so I think, we gained a lot of people because they didn't have a church. Like right now at Mass, we had someone who's been live. Oh my God. It's like a celebrity just walked in. Oh my God. Hello, we just said your name. So I've read so many articles about you. So we have, that really, I think we gained a lot of people. I'm sure we've lost people as they've gone back to, but I think, our live stream is huge and we live stream every day. Yeah. Yes, every day. Aaron lives at this church basically. I know, poor Aaron. But yeah, we do live stream every day.
What are you live streaming every day?
We have Mass every day because, we're Catholic, so we have Christ every day. So we live stream Mass every day. Reverend Myra does a morning prayer on Tuesdays. And we call them our Across the Miles parishioners. So they have their own small Christian community. They do a pilgrimage to Rochester. Like all our online people do, and we host them. They stay at Father Jim's. We bring them all around Rochester. That's going to be this May. Some of them are here from Florida, from Germany, from Austria. They sort of do pilgrimages to Rochester. It's fun. It's so much fun. Yeah.
How large your youth group is?
Yeah, so I would say after COVID, it took a huge hit. Back in 2015, I had 50 teens, and now I would say I have about 30. And I would say our religious ed has probably about 100 right now. So we're not as big as we once were, but we're hoping to still grow. The reality is we were fighting against a lot of other sports and dance. And so, I just took 22 kids on a retreat a couple weekends ago, but it's hard to keep those numbers up, I will say.
As we've been having discussions here about what Downtown Church's mission is, a number of people have said they want to get involved more in hands-on mission and ministry projects. And I just wondered if any of the things your church is involved in are things you would be open to having people from other congregations, including Downtown Church or including the Quakers, get
Oh,
involved
okay,
in.
sorry, I didn't realize the Quakers were here too. Sorry about that.
You-
I'm sorry, we're loud. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, we're loud. I blame the kids.
Nothing's bothered us yet.
Okay, I'm sorry. So yes, Barb Simmons, I know, talks a lot to you all, and anywhere, we want everyone, and if any of this sparked your interest, we want you involved. Anyone can be involved. We do have a lot of people who are not parishioners involved in our ministries. So that's what's really unique about Spiritus. Our Speaking from the Heart group, because there is such a need, there is always a need for more volunteers for this group. We have a church van that drives a lot of the family members back and forth. I'm just going back, any group, if you were involved. I mean, obviously, I think Caring Connection would be different, would be a weird one to get involved with because it's our parishioners. But I think any group on this list, if you wanted to get involved, it's, there are people outside of our parish involved. People volunteer, and there's volunteer opportunities within all these ministries. Like you could be on the board of Grace of God or do an overnight, or, if you were, a medical, therapist, you could help with, volunteering hours here. There are opportunities in all of these, in all of our ministries.
And how would someone contact someone in Spiritus to say, I'm interested in one of these ministries?
Typically, people start with me, and then I would connect you exactly to who you would need to be connected with, just to make sure you got exactly where you needed to go. So there wasn't any runaround. So I can make sure I leave my email with everyone before I go, but it's just so it's a direct connection. And I know that Buddy Readers is sort of ending their year, this school year, but then they'll start back up in September with their big volunteer. I mean, no one's like, are you a Spiritus parishioner? It's just anyone, again, I think the woman who runs it is sort of a Spiritus parishioner, not really. So we're welcoming to all to get involved. And then I forgot to add another thing that Dupsy we connect with is the food pantry. We combined on that where Barb and Ken every Wednesday go through the city and fill all the different food pantries, more in the inner city. And I know you all do a great collection for as well. And that's another beautiful little ministry that was created on its own.
Well, thank you so much. This is embarrassing in some respects, because there's so much that you do that is common sense, and yet, we were happy that you're here. We, of course, at Downtown are struggling with, how do you pay $4 million a year in terms of space and staff and things like that. So that, how much of the work is done by, when people volunteer for one thing, I imagine they're volunteering for that thing. They're not spreading themselves across 5 different activities. And so when your denominator is 1,500 people, you have a lot more people to help out. We're, 10 times, 1/10 of that size. So how would you, I don't have any questions or comments. It's just, it is just a remarkable and wonderful contribution to the community, and may our futures be together.
Yeah, absolutely. And 1,500 is like the number that goes out to everyone. I would say like active, in the pews would be like 400. And you said, I do see a lot of people who are on Caring Connection and on the board of Grace of God, like the same person, and on our hospitality ministry and in our choir. So we do have a lot of people who like triple, quadruple dip. You have like those stronghold volunteers. Probably a lot of you sitting here right now are those people. So we do have a lot of people who do that.
So, they say that like a lot of the volunteers are like older, retired folks. How do you manage how many volunteers do you have who are younger and how do you, like attract them?
I think that a lot of the work that is being done attracts people because it's work that people want to get involved in because, right, how many of us know someone who has suffered from addiction? We probably could all raise our hands, or who knows someone, a family member who was formerly incarcerated or dealt with a mental health issue. And when it's that direct connection, you want to get involved. And so I think a lot of times the ministries sort of speak for themselves in terms, and then as the hospitality minister, my number one thing when I meet, I go through this. My new parishioner meetings, this is what I go through, to engage people and show them what we're doing, that it's really not about Sunday, but it's about this. This is what the work that we're being called to do. So I think it's just really showing people the way that what Chris has called us to do.
So do you have 3 priests? And if so, what kind of involvement are they involved in with the
Yeah.
outreach and outreach, please?
Yes, so we have 3 priests. Reverend Myra is our head priest. Well, Jesus Christ is our head priest. Reverend Myra is our other head priest, and then Reverend Seeley, who you all know, and Father Jim. Father Jim obviously was basically one of our founders and was instrumental in a lot of our ministries, especially like prison outreach, and Sister Margie, helped start our Grace of God. So, Father Jim's sort of semi-retired now. And he's sort of like the liaison to Grace of God and prison outreach. They sort of oversee them and and connect with the directors. I do that as well, like as in a supervisor capacity. So our priests sort of like make sure the connection to the church stays strong, and that no one's like floating out in space by themselves. And, like all the men and, women who are in those, in the houses, think they make it a point to come to mass. Like the Grace of God men don't miss mass ever on a Sunday. Granted, they're right on Franklin Street, but then our van goes and stops at Jennifer House and Nielsen House and brings men and women who want to come. It's a requirement for Grace of God, probably because Sister Margie started it. But the Nielsen House men and women, they come to church, and yeah, so. I don't know if I really answered it.
And all the, so it sounds like the leadership for many of these outreach pieces are not so much top down,
Mm-mm.
and they don't necessarily have to be connected with all the activities that are going on.
No, yep. They have so much work that they're doing, but they try and stay connected as much as possible.
Maybe time for one more question. Let me just say that Spiritus has a wonderful website.
Oh,
You
yes.
can go onto the website and read about all of these ministries on the website. And you can contact Lauren. Do you want to give us your
Yes,
email?
I'm gonna try to see. Our ministry page is really good. Like, it really is a great, I don't know if you can pull it up on here, our ministry page. If you just go to spirituschristi.org and then ministries. Yeah, so my email is just my first initial and then my last name. And I'll spell that out for you, at spirituschristi.org, all one word. So L, and then Urzetta is my last name. URZETTA at spirituschristi.org. So if you go, menu, and then go to ministries, so you'll see all these pictures that I just gave. So, and these all go like into great depth and then have links, because a lot of them have their own website pages.
And Lauren's picture and a bio and her email is
Yes.
all under about,
Maybe about or
and
something.
then
Yeah.
does it have?
Staff, probably
Leadership.
leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have a pencil to write it all
Yeah.
down, she is there. There she is.
There we go. They took that picture 2 months after I gave birth, so let's just.
So this
Oh, yeah.
has just been absolutely wonderful, Lauren, I mean, I wondered how you were gonna do so much in so little time that we were giving you, but you really gave a great overview.
Thank
And
you.
the idea that we could get involved in some of these, and maybe the Quakers could get involved in some
Yes.
of these, and I mean, the idea of having a building of people who are working together
Yes.
on ministries like this is really an exciting concept, and you have provided such an incredible infrastructure.
Thanks for having us here, and thanks
Um,
for providing us with a home. We couldn't do this without a home, so thank you.
So thank you so
Yeah.
much. We do need to end because the Quakers are going to be meeting here
Oh, yes.
at 11, because I believe there's going to be a reception down in the Halleck Lounge after worship today, welcoming our new minister. So thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
I am so glad you were here.